Hey everybody, this is Simon with the Ideal Hour podcast. Today I have a very special guest that I actually met through Instagram. It's Andrew Undem. He is responsible for over $1 billion in real estate sales. He also manages the fourth largest team for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I'm really excited to see what he can tell us in regards to his success, his podcast, what it takes to really drive that much sales in real estate, which is very competitive with over 2 million real estate agents in America alone. So Andrew, thank you for coming on the podcast. I am excited to hear what you have to say. I've mentioned some highlights. Let's get into it. What makes you a success? Like what drives you in the morning to continue doing what you do?
Well, hey, thanks for the great intro. I operate out of Baltimore, Maryland, and we're out here selling real estate all day, every day, here in the Mid-Atlantic. And it's kind of the same thing that what makes anybody successful. You have to have an insatiable appetite for learning. You got to stay hungry. And once you reach a level of success, how do you get to the next level? So that's the journey I'm on, and I imagine we're all on. And I stay on that. And it's just, one of my kind of superpowers has always been to find people who already are doing what I want to do and have gone where I want to go. And I had some incredible mentors, and I do have some incredible mentors. And I think that's something that everybody should be looking for.
Let me ask you, Andrew, how did you get started in this? You mentioned mentors, but was it always your dream to be in real estate? And what led you to be in the position that you are today? Like, kids grow up saying, hey, I want to be a firefighter, an astronaut, et cetera. Were you always into real estate?
I'm not from a real estate family. No one in my family was in real estate. So I never had that goal, dream, or aspiration. I kind of found myself in it. I graduated college in 2009.
Okay.
And that was right after the global financial crisis. Things were tough. And I was trying to be a finance guy. I was studying to be a CFA, a chartered financial analyst, which is ironic. So I'm not even good at math, but I was just like, look, I wanted to find ways to make money, manage money, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. Well, no one's hiring those types of people in 2009. So I come out of college, you ain't doing that. All these experienced people are getting laid off, Bear Stearns collapses, all these banks are going down. That's a tough timing, for that career.
It was probably one of the worst, I would say.
Certainly in our lifetime.
Yep. That maybe even the 2000 crash or 2001 .com bust. The 9/11, also was a tough time. But 2008, I remember it. Real estate prices just completely crashed. Financial sector was down. Washington Mutual, which was a major bank, I think the fourth largest, went under right away, and Chase bought them for pennies on the dollar. So, yeah, go into that a little more.
Well, look, you're exactly right. There's many times when bad things happen, and tough times don't last, but tough people do. And particularly in that financial crisis, where I was trying to go in my career was particularly bad. Not that it was any better for real estate, but I ended up getting a job selling new home construction for a builder.
Oh, okay.
So that's the guy who sits in the model home, right? And people come in, and we have 68 single family homes here, and then they kind of have to buy them from you. You represent the builder. And that was an incredible place to start because I learned, the work ethic. Look, you work 7 days a week in that business, and you're off 2 days a week. But kind of you're supposed to show up. If a customer wants to come in, you're coming in on your day off. You don't get paid anything unless you sell something. And that was a great experience for me. And at the same time I was doing that, one of my good friends worked for a sales consulting firm in Baltimore. So when I did have free time, I went and worked at that company for free, pro bono, going back to mentors and finding people who are doing what you want to do. And I said, these guys are really high-level salespeople. They're training people B2B. Mm-hmm. How do I sell 10,000 of these machines to the Pentagon?
Yeah.
RFPs and a different type of sales process. So I'm learning that over here. And then every day I got to practice my sales skills in that model home. People come in, they want to buy, you can test things. And I ended up getting pretty good at that. I was one of the top salespeople in the country as a 22-year-old showing up to the model, hung over every day.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure after the first few paychecks, you were probably like, whoa, this is pretty good.
Exactly. You're 21, 22, you're making 10, 15, 20 grand a month. I'm going to the bar afterwards.
That's incredible. And I actually will comment on that. At that age, I had my own place as well. I was making pretty good money. Probably had nearly at least $500,000 in my bank account at that age. And for me to have that, it was just such, it was such a relief, or you get this energy. You're going out, you're probably pushing the limits of those night hours. You're waking up with barely any sleep, and you're putting on a good outfit to tackle on the day. And it was fun. Those were good times, and I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. Let me ask you, so model homes are actually, some people will say model homes are great investments in a certain aspect of it, because you take away, and they may be even easier sells depending on neighborhoods and school districts and all that, but you take away the construction part of it. You're not worried about anything related to construction. You put down typically what is 10% in the beginning, right? And they build the home. They take on all the liability. You close on the home, and you're in this fun new neighborhood with new families and so forth. Would you say it's easier to sell a model home than maybe a listing that you have to acquire as a new real estate agent?
Well, it's funny you mentioned this. I'm actually doing a workshop here. I got my whole slide deck right here, Blueprint to Profit, Mastering the Art of New Construction. But
I love that.
I went from doing that, and then I saw a couple people who were in the general brokerage world selling real estate, and I'm thinking, God, these guys are making twice as much as I am, and they don't even have to be here every day. They get to do whatever they want. So long story short, I ended up getting into general brokerage, grew a big team. So I own and operate that team we got about 25 agents, 4 admin, and sell a couple $100 million of real estate a year.
Congratulations.
Back to like you make a lot of money as a young person. A fool and his money are soon parted. So I learned some good lessons there. And I'm sure, Simon, I follow you on YouTube. You're always dropping nuggets on how to be smart with the money.
Sure.
But the model home thing, here's the thing with model homes. Now, new construction is different than a model. You can go buy a new home. Absolutely. There's a million benefits to it. There's no multiple offers. You're not in negotiating. You're transacting with another business. It's more a B2B instead of B2C. You're not saying, hey, the seller's got to move, but they got to be here till X, Y, and Z. This HVAC is 15 years old. So look, there's not as much negotiation. You don't get bid up. Everything's brand new. Everything's under warranty. It's to the latest building codes. Everything's more efficient. So I love new homes. And right now, just for the audience, right now in 2023, inventory is historically low. 1/3 of all homes right now are new construction.
Oh, wow.
So if you're an agent or you want to be an agent, getting involved with new homes is a smart thing to do. All the biggest players understand who creates the inventory, the builders. There's a way to be allied with them. And just like anything in sales, Simon, you got to get them what they want. They want more exposure, more traffic, more sales. And as an agent, if you can offer that, you'll be in good shape. But the model home thing, they are unbelievably good investments to buy the actual model, not another new home in the community, but the model itself. Here's why. A lot of these builders, they'll build that model and they want to operate out of that model. A salesperson like I will sit there. Depending on how many lots are in the development, sometimes these are 400 or 500 homes they got to sell. They're going to say, we're going to be in this model for 4 years. Great. But they'll sell it to you. So you can buy this home at the beginning of a development before the builder and all their billions.
Wow.
They're trying to drive the prices up, but you're in at the ground level.
Yep.
You can buy that home and they'll rent it back from you.
Incredible.
For a premium. So you own the home. You're not living there. It's a model. It's meticulously maintained. No one's sleeping there. No one's messing up the toilets. People are walking in and out. They clean it religiously and you own it. And at the end of that development, they say, hey, we don't need to lease this anymore. Boom. Now you have this asset in this neighborhood that didn't exist when you bought it, but now there's 500 new families there and you can dump it. So I don't want to go on a diatribe about buying model homes, but I'm on the list for every builder. When they say, hey, we have a model home to sell, take one of them down. Take it down.
Andrew, let me ask you, do they sell these model homes at a discount in the beginning? Or like, for example, I'll give you a scenario. I know someone that bought a new development in Boca Raton, Florida, which is like a booming, I think it's the #1 market right now, South Florida.
Oh yeah.
And the model homes, from what I remember, were actually priced higher because they were so spazzazzed. They want to sell all this, extra premium cabinets and toilets and all this. Do they typically sell the model home before anything gets constructed? Or is this, do some of these builders keep the model homes knowing that they're going to rent it back from themselves and then sell it later?
Well, it's a good question. And every builder operates differently.
Sure. Some
builders, like NVR is the 4th biggest builder in the country. They own Ryan Homes, Envy Homes. They're big in Florida, all along the Mid-Atlantic. That's where I worked. They'll always sell the model first. As soon as it's done, they want to sell it, rent it back. Other builders want to hold it and they'll sell it at the end. So every builder's different, and there's some 5 or 6 big national players, but every area, there's a lot of regional builders who will sell the models. And they are a little bit more expensive because they have all the options, because this is the model to show you what's possible. So yeah, they have all the options. But the key thing here, Simon, is they're going to drive the prices up.
Yeah.
Their whole idea is, here's the model. We want the prices to go up. And as time goes on, as they create demand, more buyers come in, they'll raise the price, lower the incentive. So by the end, unless there's a kind of a crash, which there hasn't been, and the real estate market's so hyper resilient now because there's so many protections in place to make sure what happened in '08 won't happen again. But there might be another black swan. We don't know yet. If these interest rates go to 15%, maybe no one.
I hope it doesn't happen.
Signs are pointing that it won't. But look, no one knows. And everyone who's predicted, the smartest people in the world, they get it wrong. No, but model homes are a good investment. By and large, if you can get one and you're in a position where you're looking for cash flow and to buy a safe asset that you can depreciate, write off your interest, write off everything, keep the cash flow, have an asset. Don't bank on the appreciation. That's just speculation, but it typically happens. You'll be in good shape.
And, you know, to the audience, I want to just say, Andrew brought up an excellent point. I never even considered this, but buying a model home, renting it back, you're basically guaranteeing yourself an appreciation in the property that you're having. The sellers and the developers are going to continue raising the prices. I have experienced it myself in buying such a property in the past, where what I purchased has gone up several hundreds of thousands of dollars since I first got in from the first lottery. A model home will also guarantee your rent. As Andrew also mentioned, it will also keep that place tidy. You're not getting some family that's going to destroy your home. It has to be clean every day. And on top of that, you're getting guaranteed rent. There's going to be no disputes of rent, no one getting kicked out of the house if they're not paying, et cetera. It's a great investment. Thank you for sharing that, Andrew. That's excellent. All right, so you mentioned earlier that you also manage a team of 25. Let's talk about that. You obviously started from the ground up at one point. What did it take you to get to the level of managing a team of 25? And then how do you keep a team of 25 people or so motivated?
Well, that's a tough one, Simon. There's a lot of ways to kind of operate, and there's a lot of schools of thought on this. And you hear things like, how do you hold them accountable? How do you keep them motivated? And in our world, as independent contractors, as real estate agents are, they ain't getting paid. There's no salary. There is no benefits. You eat what you kill, which is why you have to be what I call an outdoor cat. Your job is to hunt. Okay. Not an indoor cat. Indoor cats get fed. New home sales reps, like I used to be, indoor cat. You sit there, people come to you. In this world, you're dealing with these people who, look, let's be honest, sometimes might be unemployable elsewhere, but the top agents would be successful in any field because this is the easiest industry to get into. It's the hardest to succeed at. As you mentioned, I think there was 2 million. It's dropping precipitously. Right now, an agent's not renewing every 3 minutes. You lose one, wow. You lose one, you lose one. We'll probably get it down to under 1 million.
Oh, wow.
Because when it gets hard, it ain't easy money anymore. So at the end of the day, if you want, we're talking about leadership here, you know, not just sales skills, not just marketing stuff, but true leadership is no one's going to follow anybody unless they know where they're going. And that's why you have to be really clear with your vision. This is where we're going, guys. This is our vision. Where are we going? Then you have to have the mission too, which is, this is why we're doing it. Here's where we're going, and this is why. Okay, that's your vision and mission.
I love that. I love the outdoor cat analogy. It's like, hey, you're either getting out there and you're getting it. And another point you made, which I truly agree with, in hiring many salespeople that sold many different aspects of products to services to tech services. The person that can sell will sell, in my opinion. You either kind of got it or you don't. Now, you could always develop your skills. No one is born a great salesperson, but they got to have that desire, that hunger to really get out there and make sure they improve daily. And I'm sure, Andrew, even to this day, you probably learn techniques or you polish your tools to make yourself that much more efficient or better. Okay, so let's define that a little bit further. So you said they have to be an outdoor cat, but what do you look for in a successful real estate person? Like, are they fit? Are they up earlier than others? Are they to the office earlier? What are you looking for in characteristics? Do they have high energy?
Well, there's certain characteristics that you can point out where you know that they have the raw material to probably be great. Everyone starts off as that raw piece of marble, but you can chip away and make it a David if you're disciplined and have personal responsibility. But one more thing on that leadership thing. After you have the vision and mission, you have to have core values. Okay. Here's what, and those are the standards you put in place that are going to lead to your success.
I see.
Most people don't have that. And if you don't have that, you can't manage a team. Because no one wants to work with someone they can't learn something from and they don't know where they're going. So most leaders miss that, particularly in our space. Everyone wants a team. Everyone wants to scrape and make profit off other people. But if you can't help other people get what they want, then you're not going to do it. So what makes a good salesperson is, look, you have to be a self-starter. You can't wait for someone to show you everything to do. You get thrown into the deep end, you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. And that's kind of how we roll. Like I said, you're not getting paid. I told the team this morning, Simon. It's Tuesday morning. We do our sales meeting Tuesday morning. And we kind of run the 4 disciplines of execution framework, which I can talk about more later. And it's simply as this. I said, guys, good news. Good news. Everyone here is getting a raise. And it becomes effective the day you become effective.
Nice. I like that.
Because you get paid in this industry, you get paid exactly what you're worth. You get paid in direct proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. So if you're not selling anything, if you can't influence the outcome of a transaction, why would anyone hire you? There's 2 million people. Everyone knows 8 agents.
That's right.
So the question is, can you, and maybe this in your business, whoever's watching, this is the same for this, to take real estate out of it. Can you influence the outcome of a transaction with your ability to effectively manage whatever ecosystem you're managing?
That's the right way to completely put it. And it doesn't just apply to real estate. It's any sales position, especially with commission. I've hired salespeople that are only commission-based. Some are killing it, some are lost, and it feels like they don't know how to swim in deep water. For people that this is a follow-up question to that. For people that are underperforming, what do you typically do to encourage their performance? And then if they don't perform, how long do you give them, Andrew, to say, hey, this isn't you. Let's try something else?
Well, look, you have the carrot and the stick, right? And I'm a big fan of positive reinforcement and catching people doing something right and rewarding good behavior. But at some point, you do have to draw the line.
Sure.
So how I look at it, there's only 2 things. There's your results, not your intentions, but your results. Because if we judge people only on their intentions, wouldn't that be a nice world? Hey, I didn't mean to hit this person on my way home from work. You did. Yeah. Okay, it's your problem, responsibility. So it's not the intention, it's the results, and then the behavior. That's the only 2 things you can monitor. Okay, what results are they getting? What behaviors are they exhibiting? So what I do is, if you're not hitting the results, which look, sometimes the market can do different things. Any number of things can happen. Good people have bad months. Everyone gets in a slump. I get it. But if you don't have the results and you're not doing the behaviors, which is what are the leading indicators of things that you know will lead to your success? How many calls are you making? How many open houses are you doing? Are you going to networking events? Are you marketing to your database? Are you doing social media? Whatever the litany of things you can do to generate businesses. If you don't have the results and you're not doing the behavior, that's it. Now, if you don't have the results, but you are doing the behaviors, I'm in. Let's go. It'll happen for you. Keep going.
I like that. And I'll add to that, guys. When a salesperson in one of my companies, for example, and I'm sure in Andrew's as well, is just not performing, I also look at behavior. Are they trying twice as hard or 30% more calls, follow-ups? Are they really pushing it? Are they concerned that they're not doing good? That's a big indicator, because I've had meetings with salespeople that aren't performing, and they tend to blame something else that's happening versus saying, hey, I'm gonna do these 10 other things, or I'm gonna try a different path. And that's what I would imagine you look for as well. Someone that's saying, hey, I know I'm not where I can be, need to be, and wanna be, but this is my path going forward of how I'm gonna correct my behavior to do more, to do things that are gonna better my situation. So if you guys ever hire someone, that's, in my opinion, the characteristics you want in a successful salesperson. One that doesn't give up, one that understands they're in a bad position, but does more and corrects his path or her path to really better themselves for the next month.
So Simon, one other thing on that, Because what you just mentioned is externalizing. If you start looking for reasons why you can't get what you want, that's a problem. Okay. You can't externalize anything. And I remember back in the sales consultancy days, a gentleman told me, they say, Andrew, what do you want to be? Because you can only be three things. You can be a winner, you can be a loser, or you can be an at-leaster. And here's the definitions of those. Winners are people who expect to win, and they most often do. Losers are people who expect to lose and almost always do. But what's even worse, what's even more insidious is an at-leaster, which is, hey, at least I'm better than this girl. At least I'm doing better than that guy. Hey, I only did 5 deals, but at least I'm better than Paul.
I see.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
And that's the types of people you got to find and get out. And what helps you with this is your vision, your mission, and your core values. A couple of our core values: personal responsibility, set goals, and exhibit the self-discipline to achieve them. It's up to you. No one's coming to save you. Okay, because people need to design their own plan. What a lot of managers make is like, here's the plan. Here's what you need to do to be successful. And that's fine, but you have to let them take ownership of the plan, because people don't argue with their own data, Simon. They need to say it. They need to believe it. And look, we're all different. Some people don't want to get on camera and do social media. You don't have to, but you got to do something.
So it looks like you, with your approach, you're getting it out of them for them to have that type of motivation. You're probably setting them up with questions in regards to data or where do they want to be. And from there, you're determining if they're a winner in this category, if they're a loser, or if they're just a comparative person to someone else saying, well, I did better than them.
That'll reveal itself very quickly. But going back to like, what do you look for? You look for winners.
Yeah, you want winners at every point.
You can't even have an organization if you mix them, because winners don't like, high achievers don't like mediocre performance. And guess what? The people mediocres, these at-leasters and losers, they don't like the high achievers. And you'll never have a true culture if you allow them both to coexist. So you need to get people to the winning side or get them off the bus. Get the right people in the right seats or get them off.
And a great question to that. How do you deal, and anyone out there watching has dealt with what we call a cancer in the work environment or part of the team. So how would you, Andrew, deal with a person that is cancerous to your team? They're not moving to the winner's circle. They're hating the winners. They're making excuses, et cetera.
Well, you got to get it out immediately.
Get it out.
Stage 1 before it becomes stage 4 and kills your ass. You got to get that person out of there. And look, you know, those are those tough one-on-one conversations that are tough to have when you're managing people. Managing people is one of the hardest things to do in business, period. Because look, everyone's got life going on, and you have to have empathy. So I'm not this ruthless guy who's like, oh, you have to understand, seek first to understand, then you can be understood. A lot of times people have things going on. So you got to be clear on this. You can't just go and just beat down people. That doesn't work.
Sure.
What works is calling out the things you're seeing and then asking them, say, hey, if you were me, what would you do? Like, look, this is really important. Like, how should I handle it? I always let them bury themselves. I don't bury anybody. You'll bury yourself, because it's based on your behavior and your results. It's not up to me.
Absolutely. That's a good way to put it. Let them realize what they want, direct them to where you want them to be. And if they can't get there, as you mentioned, cut the cord fast or operate quickly to get that cancer out, and invest your time into someone that is going to come in with the attitude that you want them to come in with. What are some of the biggest mistakes real estate agents make that gets them not to the winner's circle in your mind, or you see them struggling to produce, basically?
Well, first and foremost, it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about the whole time, is when you get your license, right? Everyone's going, I'm going to get my real estate license because I can't succeed in any of these other jobs. So I'm going to try this. This is typically what we see. When you get your license, it says real estate salesperson. Now, this is a stat from the National Association of Realtors. 92% of agents who get into the industry have zero formal sales training. And the kicker is almost the same percentage maintains that throughout their career. They learn how to do contracts and understand Realtor 101 stuff. That's kind of the training you get. Here's the forms. Here's how you write an offer. Here's how you list a property. That's not sales stuff. That's table stakes. So that's the number one mistake people make, is they don't understand what their job is. And your job is simply this: to get people, and this is the job for any salesperson. I don't care what industry you're in. Your job is to get people what they want. And don't pretend you know what they want. So you have to be really good at asking questions and listening. Okay, that's step 1. So you have to get people what they want and do it in a manner in which they're going to say nice things about you on the internet. So that means you have to do some unexpected extras. And all people really want, at least in real estate, is they want, when they're going in to acquire real property, they want instant equity. They want to get a good deal. There's ways to do that. We don't have time to discuss that on this show. When they're selling a property, what do they want? They want to maximize their equity. And there's a way to do that. Are you the person who is certain that you can do it? Because if you're not certain, they're not going to be certain. Whoever's more certain in any interaction influences the other person. And what's crazy, Simon, is the magic is this. They don't even have to believe what you're saying. They have to believe you believe what you're saying.
Interesting.
But most people don't believe. And it's so obvious. Who you are screams so loudly, I can barely hear what you're saying.
Yeah. You know what? Just you bringing up the person that's more confident is naturally the leader in that role. And that's such a good statement because that applies to pretty much anything out there, whether it's a night out, a sporting event, or it could be anything in sales. And it's true. If you show the confidence, you are the leader in that particular situation in pretty much almost any situation. There are obviously times where you get a real estate client that overvalues, say, their house. And every time. Yeah, every time. How do you deal with that? Let's talk about that. So you landed a client, or an agent here landed a client. Obviously, people have this emotional attachment to real estate. They raise their kids there, whatever it may be. They think it's worth $200,000 more than it is. How do you bring that client back down to reality and let them believe in you as a professional?
Well, real estate's a unique thing because it is very emotional. And here's a good analogy. Say you're the seller, Simon, and you think you want to price it at $1 million. I think it's worth 800.
Sure.
Now, I'd say this. Simon, you know, if you took a room full of all of the best agents in this area and you asked them this question, hey, were you surprised at how high a home sold recently? Every hand goes up. Oh yeah, I can't believe that they got 1.1 for this. I can't believe it. You want to know why that is? These are good agents. They couldn't believe how high some of these things have sold. It's because the agents don't know the price.
Interesting.
The agents don't know the price. The appraisers don't know the price either. They just justify it for the bank. So I'm not going to come in here and say, I know what your house is going to sell for because I don't know the exact price. Now, Andrew, we need to have a strategic launching price. Of course we do. But very rarely is the listing price the actual sales price. I don't know what the sales price is going to be, but I know the freaking process to maximize your equity. And part of that conversation is a strategic launching price. I can't tell you how many homes we've listed where we listed for 800 and sold it for 950.
Yeah.
Now and then you have to, that's a whole half an hour kind of back and forth cadence to this. But at the end of the day, they have to believe in you and your process to maximize their equity. And there's a process to do it. I draw it out on a timeline. You don't just put the house on the market. There's a lot of marketing and things that go on. And it goes back to influencing the outcome of the transaction through managing this ecosystem that we're all living in here.
And let's talk about that a little bit more, Andrew. So how important has analytics become as part of that launch process? How important is staging? How important is that initial investment from the buyer to get the property prepped for a better outcome? You mentioned properties rarely sell for what they're listed for. They could either go higher, exponentially higher, or about at asking. But what really makes it push above and beyond, aside from demand and good interest rates and all that? The staging, the prep. What do you think about that?
So that's an insightful question because there's kind of 3 stages of this, and you got to win on every stage, or else you're not doing the right thing for your seller, your client. Your client is someone who's entrusted you to act on their behalf. That's the agency relationship. First is launching the property. You have to market like the year we live in. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Then when you're negotiating, you have to be a really skilled negotiator. Look, you're dealing with a buyer, the buyer's parents, maybe the lender. There's price is one thing. Terms are just as important. When can they close on the home? How many inspections are they going to do? What type of loan are they doing? How much deposit do they have? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then once it is under contract, things come up. Inspections come up. Appraisals come up. You have to be a problem solver. So you need all 3 of these skills to get to where you want to go. Because the only thing that matters is how much money. This is what the seller cares about. Going back to getting people what they want. I will get X wired to my bank account on this day.
Yeah.
Begin with the end in mind. That's what we want. The biggest number possible here. So how do you get multiple offers and drive the price up? Well, it's all about demand creation. Can you create demand for this house? Most agents can't. They rely on, let's put it on the market. So it's this beautiful thing called the IDX, the Internet Data Exchange, which our industry, in their infinite wisdom, fought the internet. They didn't want to have this. So it's going to replace agents. No, when you put your house on, it goes to every single website. That's why you see them on Zillow and Redfin and Berkshire Hathaway and Remax and Coldwell Banker. It's everywhere. Okay, but what can you do before that? So obviously you have to prep the house. You look for asymmetry, or where can I spend $1 and get 3 back? Kitchens, bathrooms, paint. It's worth $100 in the can, $1,000 on the wall, little things like that. Now this is one-on-one. Yeah, get the house looking ready. You wouldn't take your car in and have it beat to shit to go get it appraised at CarMax. Get this, let's see how much
you're gonna get a lower appraisal, period, if you don't clean your car before you take it in.
Right. So that's, everyone knows that. That's table stakes.
Yep.
But what can you do to create demand before you put it on the market? And this world goes back to data analytics. I like to call it buyer profile demographic targeting. So can you create compelling content? Meaning, can I go to this house? And I have my own film crew. We got drones. We got all this stuff.
Nice.
And we want to make it look like HGTV Bravo comes in. And we're going to tell the story about this house and all the key things. And it's what I call 3-dimensional storytelling, because I'm going to have my spin on it. I want the homeowner spin. They know this house better than me. Who am I kidding? They've lived here for 10 years. They know everything about the schools, the neighborhood, all the upgrades they've done. And then you can use AI to enhance it too, for keyword-rich things. So it's 3 dimensions. I want my spin, seller's input, AI. Can you create the compelling content that if you just looked at the pictures, you would miss this? Because you can't hear the story about the homeowners and the schools and the neighborhood and the upgrades just looking at the pictures. No, you have to tell that story. Can you do that? Okay, most people can't, but if you can create that compelling content, that's great. Doesn't matter if every 12-year-old on Instagram sees it. We want to target people who are likely to buy this home. Very easy to find out. Hard work, but it is easy to do the data.
Yeah, it's very, very engaging. If you could actually just thinking about what you were saying from a perspective of a seller and a buyer, short 2-3 minute video, if you could compile that in a great presentation, that would open my eyes as a buyer and say, wow, look at this. With the right music, you're adding emotion into it. And the proper presentation could really influence the amount of demand you're bringing to that property.
That's really
Simon, I've made millions of dollars doing that.
Yeah, I bet.
Every single seller. Because do you need it to sell the home? No. Does your client deserve it? Yes. So, and if you want to have integrity and have alignment with what you're doing, you need to know with confidence and certainty that this process works. So you create it, but how do you distribute that? That's a different game. Upload it natively to Facebook, to Instagram, to YouTube. I'm killing it on YouTube ads. And if anyone just goes to our YouTube channel, Sure Group Real Estate, that's the name of my company, our team, that we're with Berkshire Hathaway, but our team's called Sure Group Real Estate. You'll see them all. I do it for builders and developers in the model homes. I do it for all the sellers. So that's how you create the demand. And what happens is, Simon, is this. You target the public. Because look, on a home, you can say, hey, look, I know the buyer for this home is probably between the ages of 28 and 45, living in a 15-mile radius, making over $250K. Let's target those people. And they see the video, and with one click of a button, they can schedule a time to come see it. We're not even on the market, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. We don't negotiate. Someone wants to see the house. You say, hey, Simon, we haven't even launched this yet, but I might be able to arrange a private showing.
Yeah, you're creating a pre-hype over it, and you're telling the buyers, potential buyers, that let's look at this before it goes to market. Then you're really in a bidding war, and that's incredible. And I think social media has done that. It's given real estate agents, or actually anybody, such a platform, and I'm glad you guys are using it. What's interesting enough, Andrew, is in our area, in the Bay Area, which is Silicon Valley, Palo Alto, Atherton, Hillsborough, Marin County. These are some of the most affluent or priciest areas in the country. Unless it's like a $10 million house, it's really weird. I haven't seen too many people put that much oomph into a listing. And it's because the demand is so high, or it sells itself almost. But it's incredible. I would imagine that agents listening to this, even if they're in the Bay Area, if they could start putting these reels together, these videos, and you could chop those videos into reels, it would create such a hype and probably be much better for the seller to get that bottom price or the top price that they want in the listing. So that's great that you guys do that. Let's get back Oh, go ahead. You wanted
Well, I should say, you know what drives me crazy, Simon? That people only want to do it for specific properties. If you have a business, it goes back to the E-myth, if you've ever heard of that. You have to systemize and process how you do it for everyone. You're dealing with human beings, okay? That person who's selling a 200K home, and by the way, I'd probably be a lot better off if I was in the Bay Area versus Baltimore based on the average.
You would kill it. You would kill it here.
Why would you ever treat anyone differently? Yeah. Because that person, if you kill it for a lower end home, however you perceive that to be, those people know people. Yeah. And it's easier to do it in the low end because no one else gives these people the time of day. But if you do, they're a walking billboard for you for life. That's how you create raving fans. Okay. So just whatever you're doing, treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter income, price, ethnicity, obviously. You do it because you know it's the right thing to do.
And I agree. I think that goes back to kind of what you said earlier, which is ethics and honesty, transparency with your clients. You gotta give the time to the people that some may consider low-hanging fruit for whatever reason. But if you could present that package, that word of mouth travels, those reviews on Yelp are the same value as a $10 million home. It all amplifies, it all builds up into this big ball of a professional real estate firm. So definitely giving people attention that they deserve is not only the right thing to do, but it's going to grow your business no matter what.
It's the right thing to do for them. It's the right thing to do for you. It's the right thing to do for the team. It's the right thing to do for the community. You know what's interesting, Simon? You know what every single homeowner in any community has in common?
What is it?
There's one thing that everyone in your neighborhood watching has in common. Different political beliefs, different this. Some hate the police, some love the police, some love Trump, some love Biden. It don't matter. But they all want their property value to go up. Isn't that interesting? You see, you never thought of that. Every person has that in common. And if you can be the person who not only serves the community, but represents that, you're going to own the neighborhood. And I'm so sick, and this is, again, industry agnostic. People love to market the mandatories. Hey, I'm hardworking. I'm honest. I'm hardworking. I'm going to answer when you call. Why would you ever even say such a thing? Because do you think anyone would ever call you if they thought you were going to lie to them, never get back to them, and you were lazy? Yeah. That's not, they already believe those things, Simon.
Those are expected traits.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's funny, that is a big sales pitch in your industry, which is really, really weird. It's like, well, why would I hire someone that's not honest? It doesn't make sense. Why are you telling me that? So how big is word of mouth, or how big are referrals in your success? Like you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but how important is it to get referrals to continue to grow your sales figure?
In almost any single business, that is the number one source. It's your database, your sphere of influence, your network. And your network, you know, they used to say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Everyone's heard that. Your net worth is your network or whatever. That's wrong. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's who knows you. Okay. Nice. Big difference. So the sphere business and your referrals is always going to be number one. And you can only get that by giving people what they want and doing it in a manner in which they're going to say nice things about you on the internet. It's everything. There's no team operating at our level, if you're going to be selling hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate a year, where the dominant source typically comes from referrals, unless you're one of these guys who pays Zillow, you know, a couple $100,000 a month for them just to feed you. But then you're kind of more of an indoor cat.
Yeah, the market kind of did change at one point. Redfin was trying to also influence the sales by giving much better percentages on sales and so forth. So there are people that take advantage of that. Has that Zillow or say Redfin, has that affected your sales or your competitiveness in regards to a shift where you got someone that's potentially selling a home and they go, Andrew, why do I need you? I could sell on Redfin. Obviously, I know the reasons, but tell the audience, what is the difference between that? How do you compete with Redfin, and why is it important to have an agent like you versus, say, a more of an automated website type process?
Well, you're dealing with this asset that we were talking about, this asset class in real estate, very emotional. And every single sale, you have a seller, typically a seller's agent, a buyer, a buyer's agent, a home inspector, a lender, an appraisal, a title company. You need someone who knows how to win at every single stage of that game to maximize your situation going into it. So companies like Redfin will say, hey, look, you can hire one of our agents. They'll give you whatever 1% back on the sale. And
that's if you buy a home, correct? That's if you buy a home with them. I don't think it's...
Yeah, right, and then on the listing side, they give you a discount too. So they want to give it back to you. These people are W-2 employees. Indoor cat. I will, if I just relish the facts that when I get to represent my client and I'm dealing with a Redfin agent on the other end, not to just choose them, but there's a lot of those types of companies, I'll beat the hell out of them, Simon, because I'll get them going every which way and we're going to win on every level. But if you're not certain you can do that for your client, maybe those people are better off going with Redfin. And that becomes, are you going to be the type of person who has influence over the situation? Or are you like most of these part-time stay-at-home moms who want to open the door and I can do it. I do real estate, but really do you?
Yeah. Are you really pushing for that top tier?
Which is why a lot of these top agents are always beating their chest. We need to get these agents out of here. There's so many unprofessional agents. And there's two camps to that. I like it the way it is. Let everyone in. Look, they let me in. But you got to let people in. It's the truest form of capitalism. You get paid nothing. There's a ton of competition. Consumers can do whatever they want. See if you got what it takes. And I like the sloppiness out there because my clients are going to win because we're going to attack it.
I think it's important. You know, you did mention not to compare earlier yourself to an agent that's doing well or not well, but it's important to understand for a buyer or seller what a true agent really brings in value to the market. And, you know, I think the biggest takeaway I have from this podcast, which has been pretty informative, is don't be an indoor cat, period. Be an outdoor cat. And for me, that's a term that I think I'll use in the future. So I appreciate that, Andrew.
Dude, Simon, you are an outdoor cat. You do all your own stuff. You make your own luck.
Yep.
You're outside. You're doing whatever it takes. You're an entrepreneur. There's not many of them like you out there.
There's not. And a lot of entrepreneurs that get into any type of business, they don't understand the hustle and bustle and the grind, the late nights, which you probably have so many times, and juggling that with family. I noticed you have a wedding ring. You're married. We're going to get into that a little bit. Yeah, he's taken, ladies. He's off the markets.
Yes, I am.
So, but let's get back a little bit to the leadership part of it, because I think that's such an important part. I've noticed myself that I am doing a lot of things myself, but I can't always achieve the results I want just doing everything myself. So the leadership comes in to multiply your income, right? At one point in time in your business, you could be doing it all, but you're going to have a cap of your time of how much money you could bring until you hire that second person. And if that second person is a duplicate of you or nearly, say, 50% of you, they're going to bring 50% of more income, more productivity, and so forth. And it multiplies as you get your third and fourth and fifth. And then obviously there's a diminishing effect where, for example, Elon Musk laid off 5,000 people and Twitter still ran just as well because of that diminishing effect of you don't need that many people. So how do you create a positive work environment and a productive one to make sure your overall your team is amplifying what you're doing?
Well, your job as the leader is to kind of coach and mentor and help people get to where they want to go. And you got to understand where they want to go. Because look, some people might want to, they'd be thrilled making 100K. Who are you to judge? That's what you want. Let's get you there. And as you do the results, you do the behaviors, you abide by the core values, you're helping us achieve our vision and doing it the way we like to do our mission, and you understand it, that's all good. And some people want to make $1 million. So you have to go deep with people. That's a human connection thing. But what you really need to have as the leader is clarity. Clarity is a superpower. And most people haven't went deep enough with themselves to understand the answers to these three key questions. And I revisit these all the time. And I learned this from one of my mentors. His name's Mark Stark. We just launched a training platform, which we can talk about. He had the 19th biggest real estate brokerage on the planet.
Oh, wow.
Did $9.5 billion in sales in 2021. 3,600 agents, sole owner, sold it back to Berkshire Hathaway. Massive exit.
Is he on a yacht somewhere right now or what?
He's in his house in Vegas overlooking this golf course. I don't know what he's doing. I'm going to talk to him at 2:30.
Oh, good.
So he taught me this, and it's very important. Here's the 3 questions.
Sure.
Okay. And there's a ton more behind this, but the minimum of effective dose on this clarity piece is, who are you? Who am I? What do I want? And what price am I willing to pay? And there's always a price.
Yep.
That's what you have to do as a leader and develop your own leadership style, because you have to be clear on what you want in order to help other people get clear on what they want.
Absolutely.
So, and what you're after is, what's your highest and best use of time? Because like you said, you start off, you got to do everything.
Yeah.
You're the CFO, you're the rainmaker, you're the CEO, you make all the decisions. If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. Certain things need to get done. Eisenhower matrix is a great little piece on that. But what's your highest and best use of time? For me currently, Simon, it's, look, I'm clear that all I want to do, I list property, because I still produce. So I like to be in the streets, outdoor, cat killing shit, dragging it home, letting the team clean it up. I want to list property and I want to make content.
Yeah.
I'm not good at anything else, Simon. I'm not good at the paperwork. I'm self-aware. I'm not good.
You know what? That's such a great point that you made in regards to, you got to understand what you're great at and what you're not good at. And I think no one is perfect at everything. You could be great. You could be good at things, but you start diluting what you're great at by trying to tackle on so much. And that's something that I've learned. Personally, as an entrepreneur and running several businesses, I know I'm good at a lot of things. Like I could change an outlet, I could change a garbage disposal, I could do all these things. And for some reason, my mind works in that way to understand it. But you're giving up all of this time in your day to really kill it in something else, whether it's earning money or having another opportunity meeting and so forth. So realizing, and this goes for the audience, realizing what you're not good at and fulfilling that part, whether it's marketing, operational management, scheduling, those are essential to growth. And if you could fill in those pieces on the chessboard, your company or your growth is going to be so much more exponential than you trying to juggle everything and trying to save money here and there. Do you agree with that, Andrew?
100%. You have to know what your highest and best use of time is. And you have to delegate everything else. As long as it gets done, it gets done. Go back to the Eisenhower matrix. Urgent, important, not important, delegate. There's a whole formula for this. But you got to stay in your zone. Like, you know what the highest and best use of my time is right now? I felt it was doing this podcast. Simon's got a big YouTube channel. I want to talk, chat it up with Simon.
I appreciate that.
I have a lot of things to do. As I mean, you have a lot of things to do. I said, no, I want this. I don't know. I might connect with somebody here and you just don't know.
I always, with this podcast, people ask me all the time, Andrew, why do you do it? What's the point of it? This isn't my day job personally, but I enjoy talking to people like you to learn that perspective, to show other people as well what it takes. Because with the social media space, the YouTube space, and everything that's out there nowadays, I think people have a lot of information. And if they take that information and they run with it, they could really better their life. When I was growing up, either your dad taught you something, your school certainly didn't teach you much, and you were kind of looking for a mentor. And where do you find a mentor? There was no phones, there was no mobile internet, there was no YouTube. Nowadays, if you take advantage of all this stuff and you put it out there, I feel like it's good karma and it comes back. Let me ask you a question again with the leadership part, because that's a really big aspect of who you are, in my opinion. Disputes happen in real estate. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of jealousy in real estate. As you said, anyone can almost get into the game. It doesn't take an 8-year professional. You're not a doctor where you're in school for 8 years and you're held to such a standard. You really network around other doctors that know that grind. And getting not paid for 8 years. How do you manage disputes among your team, or how do you deal with jealousy outside your team of people that are saying, well, I don't like this guy for whatever reason, mostly out of jealousy or mostly out of some type of dispute that arises?
Well, that's a great question. And there's a lot of ways to think about it, but you have to internalize this. Other people's opinion of you is none of your business.
Excellent.
And so I don't care. I'm good. I'm working for me, my family, my team. I know, just You know, it's funny. People say I look like Ryan Serhant. He's like a famous $1 million listing guy.
I know who he is.
If I'm in my suit, I got super gray hair. You can't quite tell. But I get just ridiculed on the internet. These people are vicious on TikTok. But what, like, if that's going to slow you down, you're not prepared for this game. And in life, you just got to let that stuff roll off. But now, if you're in a negotiation, if you're representing someone else, conflict's part of it. If you are afraid of conflict, you're not going to get very far in this business. But look, most people aren't afraid of conflict. They'll shy away from conflict. But half of your job, whether it's in leadership or it's in negotiation or representing a client, is to gather as much information as possible. Don't just give the information. You see, you get paid in direct proportion to the information you gather, not what you give.
Sure.
And you have to be skilled with this sort of, it's an art and a science. It's an art and a science. You have to be able to quickly read people. And, you know, there's a lot that goes into that, but conflict is what it is. And if you're conflict averse, you probably don't want to be in negotiations every day. You'll shy away from things.
And in terms of the dispute part, do you let the two agents, let's say it's an internal thing, do you let them work it out? Do you get involved and refocus their goal?
Well, obviously, it depends on the situation. But the one rule that we're very steadfast on is you're not allowed to treat anyone else on this team with any level of disrespect.
I like that.
So if it comes to name calling, or like I fired a guy 3 days ago. He came in, good agent, selling a lot of houses. He told John on our team, he goes, your numbers are shit. You're never going to be as good. You're never going to put up numbers like me. That was like strike 1, 2, and 2.5. So
Okay.
I've been watching him now. I'm like, okay, wait. Then he told the front desk person to do their job. Hey, do your job and let my people in. Okay, you're gone. Yeah. We don't need these types of people around here. But it goes back to, 7 habits of highly successful people. Seek first to understand, then be understood. Because they will give you everything you need. You don't need to come in and immediately judge and try to say, this is what you're doing. This is not what we're doing. It's asking questions. Why are you behaving this way? What got into that? And you seek to understand. And then once you have the relevant information, because look, there's always two sides to the story. Don't ever jump to a conclusion. And that's what you have to do. So
what Andrew just basically described is quickly killing that cancer, which poor John was experiencing, and he got rid of this individual, which is great. And I'm glad you did that. It seems like someone I wouldn't want to work with.
Well, I don't even not like the guy. He's a good guy. He's a good person, good agent. I have no ill will. You got to be so unemotional about these things. And this is what the best leaders are like this. Yeah. If something awesome happens, you're not, oh my God, I'm in ecstasy. When something bad happens, oh, I'll never be up again. Yeah. You stay right here. Yeah. And that's hard. Easier said than done, but that's just the way the world works. You got to stay centered and stay true to who you are.
I love that. All right, let's talk about where the last real estate question here, and then we're going to get into a couple personal questions, and then we're going to wrap up this great interview, and I appreciate your time. So the first part is, where do you see real estate going, especially with the interest rates where they are today? It really killed a lot of buyers' dreams of a bigger home, so to speak. You're paying more per month, et cetera. So where do you see real estate going in the next short period of time, whatever you want to equate that time to, as far as the opportunities in the market, as far as interest rates and just the overall general consensus of it being a good investment, a potential retirement plan, et cetera?
Well, first of all, there's always going to be opportunities. I don't care what the market's doing. There's always going to be opportunities, because in this residential real estate space, you're not competing against Wall Street and the Flash Boys, if you read that book, where there's these computers sending this information and finding arbitrage every which way. Hard to win in the stock market. I believe in the stock market, obviously. But you're dealing with a person who wants to sell an asset, who may or may not know what they're doing, and people who want to buy things, and they don't do this every day. Okay. Sure. There's a once every 7-8 years. So there's always going to be opportunity. But where's the market going? Here's what's happening. Right now, the interest rates have never went up this fast in history. It was in the high 2s. Now it's in the mid 7s, maybe going to 8. We don't know, but that's where it's at right now. Probably 7.5, 7 3/8, somewhere. That's the interest rate. That makes affordability low. So you'd think, oh my God, so many less people can afford homes. These prices got to come down. Prices aren't coming down because the inventory is so low after 2008 and that global financial crisis. The amount of homes being built was staggeringly low. It's not even keeping up with population growth.
Wow.
There's so much regulation on the builders, so there's no inventory. Okay, so supply and demand, even though demand is dropping with interest rates, the supply is still low, the demand is still through the roof.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. What's going to give? Well, we don't think these interest rates are going to stay high forever. So if and when they come down, the prices are really going to go up. So if you're thinking about buying now, I'd get in now because you can always refi. Even if it takes 5 years, you're in at this price. And the purchase price of the house only matters the day you buy it and the day you sell it. You're living with the payment and the interest rate. Okay. Now, inventory, simply, they can't create it. You don't just say, oh, here's 10,000 new homes in every market. And it has long legs. So it's going to take a long time for that inventory to come back. And furthermore, what's even exacerbating the inventory problem further is there's so many people who do want to move, but they're like, honey, I got a 3% interest rate. I hate this house, but we can't leave because then we got to go buy it 7.5.
Yeah.
So when the rates come down, demand's going to explode, but the inventory still won't be there. So my prediction is this, Simon, the prices are going to continue to go up. There is no indicator. And I go to travel to all these conferences and speak all over the place, and I'm always listening. You got to be, I'm a student, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a follower of no one, but I'm a student of everyone. Like I take whatever you can get. All indicators are the prices are probably going to continue to go up, which they have done forever. The only time real estate's dropped was in that global financial crisis. And that was this whole crazy soup mess.
That was an anomaly.
That's called a black swan event. Once every 100 years, something like that will happen. So yeah, the prices are going to continue to go up. Affordability is probably going to stay low, but when it does become more affordable, the prices will continue to go up, but it will unlock some inventory because when the rates come to 5.5%, that seems to be the number that the major economists are pointing at. If the rates go to 5.5%, a lot of people will be willing to sell their home, even though they're locked into a low rate. So existing inventory.
I completely agree. And again, I'm not a real estate specialist. I do own quite a few properties in the Bay Area, which I'm lucky to have, but as soon as that interest rate drops, you're going to see such a crazy demand of people really buying and pushing that envelope of what they could afford. At the same time, you mentioned you're not simply printing money. You're not printing a piece of paper to develop a home, have the proper supply chain in there to get it done on time. Takes quite a lot of time, and it's not meeting with demand. And also in key areas, guys, if you're in a very key area, like whether you're in a hot market like South Florida, we mentioned earlier, the Bay Area, which has a lot of millionaires and billionaires, probably the biggest population of them, that always will be a market where prices aren't just going to dip and drop, even in a super crazy interest rate. Someone has closed a business and they just cashed out $100 million. They could buy that house that you have that they want, and there's no other houses being built. All right. I appreciate that, Andrew. Let's talk about a couple things that are aside from real estate to wrap this up, as I mentioned. Yeah. Aside from real estate, what would you say is the biggest lesson you learned in life, or some of the biggest, or something that comes to your mind really quick? And I know I didn't give you these questions in advance. It keeps it fresh. That's why I love it. You
gave me the opportunity. I just said, Simon, just wing it. That's kind of how I roll. I like the extemporaneous. It's a good word. Polysyllabic word. Okay.
I like that. I think one thing to add is take it. Would you say this is accurate? It's worked for me a lot. Try to take advantage of every opportunity, whether it's big or small. Would you say that's a good one that you kind of follow as well?
Well, yes and no, because you got to learn how to say no to things. Because you have to be focused on your highest and best use of the time. But yes, there's always opportunities everywhere. As long as your reticulator activating system is up, you have your antenna up, opportunities are everywhere. Every person who's walking out, I'm right in downtown Baltimore right now, they all need a place to live. I believe they'd be better off working with me. So of course, there's opportunities everywhere. And like I just took a big one launching this training company. We've been going around the world, literally, to share our message with agents. And we have a really cool platform on that. But to answer your question, I'll never forget, a guy once told me this, and it kind of changed the way I looked at life. And I was like 21. I was still working in the model home. It was my day off. I was in the sales consulting place. And this guy who I really respected said this. He said, Andrew, you need to have unrealistic expectations of how good your life's going to be. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I mean, exactly what I said. You have no idea how good your life can be. And I really chewed on that for a little bit. And then I started thinking, I can get whatever I want. And every time I found someone who I wanted to go where they had been, like my partner, Mark Stark, 9-figure exit. Now we're partners, 50-50. Anytime I've ever asked anyone for help, they've helped me. And that's going to be the same for you. But the market will punish the vague and reward the specific ask. So you can't go to Simon and say, hey, Simon, what credit card should I use? Well, it's like, that's too vague. You say, hey, look, I travel a ton. I'm going international. I typically spend $15,000 a month. I'd like to get some airfare stuff. I like Clear. That's a more specific question. If you were me, what would you do? So it's all about, if you want better answers in life, you have to ask better questions.
I see. You're saying get as detailed as possible into what you're trying to understand or improve on and accomplish, so to speak. Being vague will kind of get you in a room, but it won't really resolve what your core is or what you're trying to understand.
People ask me, Simon, what CRM should I use?
Yeah.
What?
Like, what do you need?
Yeah. Stupid question. Yeah. You got one shot at these influential people. Be specific.
There are so many out there that that's one thing about social media is there's just too many and they haven't done much, but they're really great on camera and they present well and people follow someone that is not proven. You mentioned your mentor is very proven. So Mark, and that's very important. I think if you guys out there do follow somebody, really do your research and make sure they're proven, understand what you're also trying to get out of it. That's been a big part. I think what I've gotten from this podcast particularly is, I mentioned earlier, don't be an indoor cat. You got to be a go-getter in any situation. Don't limit yourself on your dreams and goals. Think bigger than you actually can, or imagine that you should have it all and you will have it all. And really be detailed to what you want or understand what you're trying to go after. Last question for you here. If you could give any advice to your younger self, you mentioned you got into this in your early 20s, but if you could give advice to your younger self, you could, the time machine, Back to the Future type thing, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I'm going to steal this from one of my other mentors, a guy named Sharon Srivatsa. He's now the president of Real Brokerage. He's actually I'm just going to San Diego in a couple of weeks, bringing my wife, and he asked me to speak there. It's crazy how that happened. The keynote's Alex Hormozy. If anyone follows him, he's kind of a big deal. So I'm speaking right after him. I'm like, oh shit, hopefully I'll get to hang out with him. But he said this, and I believe it too. And this is what I would tell my younger self. I wish I was more willing to pay for access to people, because I could have gotten to where I am today a lot quicker than trying to figure it out myself. Because smart people learn from their own mistakes, and God knows I make them every day. And so does everyone if they're honest with themselves.
Sure.
But wise people learn from the mistakes of others. But they typically don't just give that shit away for free. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of imposters out there on YouTube, on Instagram. The real gangsters, they're typically not way out there. Some of them are, like Hormozy's, like Simon Katz. So they're out there, but a lot of them are just killing it in the dark. So they don't need this shit. They don't need your approval. They don't need your eyeballs. But if you can find them and be willing to pay for access to them, it'll just change your world. I don't want to have to make the mistake. I'd rather learn from your mistakes and not have the scar tissue and lose 2 years and lose my money.
Yeah, you want to bypass all of the experiences that you don't have to take, is what you're saying, by getting a really deep, knowledgeable person to either train you or give you an experience that they went through without you having to learn it, so you could focus on the better part of it all. And, I did say that would be my last question, but you mentioned your family and something came up, and I have kids as well. Do tell the audience how many kids you have. How do you manage this work-life balance? And how important is it to have a partner, which gets brought up in my podcast a lot, that really truly supports that work-life balance?
So I've been married it'll be 10 years next September. I have 3 kids, 6, 4, and 2. And that's my why, right? My personal why, not to get too, spiritual on you or whatever. That's why you're doing things. That's your legacy. Your only legacy really is what you leave behind. Because we ain't going to be here. Like in 80 years, we're going to be dead. Yeah. But maybe your kids, hopefully, they won't be, and you can live on for a little bit through them. And it's so incredible. I could not do anything without my wife.
Yeah.
She manages the entire house. She books my flights. She packs my stuff. We are a team. So I don't know how people do it without it. That's why I have so much respect. Oh my God, the single moms out there, holy shit.
Yeah.
If you can be successful in that position, I'd love to hire them because these people do whatever it takes. They might want to be an indoor cat, Simon, but they're an outdoor cat regardless.
I think if the roles were reversed and you had to watch the 3 kids and drive them and do all this, you'd drive yourself crazy. Those jobs are a lot harder than the probably day jobs that you and I do combined.
Not even remotely close.
Yeah. So
it's so much harder.
It's incredible. That's awesome. And with that, she's very supportive of what you do. She understands your journey. And oftentimes, I think, guys, it's essential that you marry, you see the family of the person that you're marrying, you see how the dynamic is. And if you don't have a supporting partner that's going to uphold you in a different aspect, which is your personal life, your success is just not going to get to the level that you want when you don't have that at home. So that's truly important. And I'm glad you got that at home, Andrew.
The thing that people need to realize is everyone's got expectations. Your spouse has expectations, you have expectations. But unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. Okay, write that down. That means you have to be in communication on what each other are expecting. And this goes into every level of the relationship, but we're just talking about business and stuff. Yeah. One thing I've done is extremely important, and I encourage everybody to do, is you have to set goals with your family. And this isn't money stuff or whatever. It can be anything. And
sure.
I made my wife, we went through the whole thing. And I like Jim Rohn's got, if you type in Jim Rohn goal setting, it's like 1980s. He'll take you through this beautiful exercise. It's really powerful. And you start saying, hey, here's everything I'm proud of. Here's what I want to accomplish this year. Here's what's going on in 3 years. What's my crazy 10-year goal? Wouldn't it be nice to know what your spouse's 10-year goal is?
Absolutely. I think many people don't ask that of each other anymore.
They don't. No one's asked themselves.
Yeah.
But if you can be the conduit to your spouse and say, all right, let's just pull this apart. You probably never even thought of this. What's possible? If it was crazy, everything went exactly how you wanted it to go, what would you have? Well, I like the place at the beach and I want to do this. You say, oh shit, I didn't even know you were into that.
Yeah.
But that's how you can grow a relationship because we're all changing. But if you change and you're not changing with your partner, that's when it becomes a problem. Like divorce is a thing. This isn't a relationship stuff.
A big thing in real estate. That's, it's almost 50% or whatever it is nowadays. And in real estate, you sell homes because of it. And it's like you have to deal with both parties. And
we like divorce, Simon. We like, you're getting divorced, so you're going to sell this one. You're both going to buy it. Let's roll.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate.
But overall, communication seems to be the big part in a home to make sure you're successful. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I certainly learned a lot. I know the audience has learned a lot. Truly appreciate your time. You're welcome back anytime, and let's keep in touch. We'll link all of your contact information below. Anything else you want, you'll obviously send us. Guys, Andrew has given us some great insight, not only to being a successful real estate person, but running a real estate team that's successful, how to deal with problems at work, how to motivate people, how to be an indoor cat or an outdoor cat, or the definition between those two, and what he looks for in a successful team member. We covered a little bit of a personal life, which I truly feel is such a big aspect of success in many families. I'm truly thankful for him to share that knowledge, and make sure you follow him and subscribe to his YouTube and follow him on Instagram. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it as I have, and you're welcome anytime, and let us know if any new developments come up in your future and in the future ahead.
Absolutely. And I'm really tied in with Berkshire Hathaway. So if you're looking to buy something anywhere or sell something anywhere, I'm happy to hook you up with an outdoor cat who's going to go to bat for you. Because there's about 0.1% of them who are worth their weight in salt, but I'm happy to connect you. I'm at Undem on Instagram. And I'm really excited about our real estate training. If there's any real estate people you want to send this to, starkundem.com. We got some really cool stuff there. And look, be great. Nothing else pays.
That's awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much.